Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to CBC Throwbacks. Today, we will be talking about the Canadian pop culture of 1960s and 1970s.
Whoa, the 60s and 70s were decades ago, but it almost felt like they just passed.
Indeed, Naman. And today, we will be looking back to the revolutionary culture that set the stage for today.
Ah, the roaring 60s. What a wonderful time to be alive for a hippie. It was a time where you could go out and be liberated. People would go watch color TV, surf, attend rock concerts, collect troll dolls, enjoy the amazing music, watch outstanding films, and dress in a rather unique manner for entertainment purposes.
Of course, during the 60s, people loved their color TV. After all, that was the main source of media at the time. People got the opportunity to be exposed to the most popular styles of music, dance, and songs. As Beatlemania entered the scene, Canadian artists including Bobby Corolla and bands like The Guests, who used the favored style of music, rock and roll, to rise to the top of the charts. Popular styles of dancing included the stroll, the diamonds, mashed potato, and the twist. Everything that was trending in the 60s stayed the same into the 70s. People were still crazy over rock and roll, but there was a few new additions to the 70s. Jazz, funk, and soul became more popular throughout this decade. More and more dances became popular during the 70s.
There were many Canadians of this time period, but only a few stood out. People like Pierre Berton, David Suzuki, and Elna Miles. We all know the wonderful David Suzuki. He was a scientist, environmentalist activist, and a media star. He was born on March 24, 1936 in Vancouver, British Columbia. He was famous for his career as a broadcaster, including our very own CBC TV series and The Nature of Things, as well as his own accomplishments as an environmental activist. Pierre-François de Marie Berton, born on July 12, 1920, in Whitehorse, Yukon. Berton was a Canadian author of non-fiction, especially in the Canadian history, and was well known for his television personality and his achievements as a journalist. Elna Miles, an amazing singer, Canadian singer and a songwriter, who was inducted into the Canadian Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame in 1997. She sang pop music, rock music, and blues.
In the 60s, pop art was booming. The art had many different styles that came to be in this decade. Pop artists created art that people could relate to. They found by doing this it appealed to a bigger mass of people. They started by using pictures of famous people and celebrities, and they started to sell. Soon pop art became the trend of the decade that later on influenced feminist art. Feminist art was the most popular art in the 1970s. This new wave of art that related to females started a movement. Women were demanding the same rights as men. This decade was all about equality in both race and gender. Feminists started making art that reflected the lives and experiences of women, and that changed the foundation of the art industry.
The 60s and 70s had crazy fashion trends. The fashion trends for men were not as innovative as they were for women during the 60s. However, they still had significant changes. One thing for the men which was quite noticeable was the tight pants, the eye-catching wide and long collars, and the huge lapels. Modified versions of the bell-bottom called flared became quite popular, as well as many men began to wear sports shirts casually. A truly amazing time to be a hippie. The fashion breakthroughs that began for men in the late 60s also continued into the 70s. Hairstyles changed more than the clothes during this time period. The huge departure from the 60s was the slim-fitting pants. Overall, men's clothes got tighter and large portions of the clothes were made from polyester, or a blend of cotton and polyester. Later in the decade, velour and terry cloth became the new choice of fabrics. Outfits like leisure suits exploded in popularity in 1972 after John Travolta's smash hit Saturday Night Fever. Tracksuits, although it was more associated with the 80s, it was still a popular trend.
Women's trends in the 60s changed drastically. In the early 60s, Jackie O style was the major trend.
Created using Powtoon.